There's never been a better time to start learning Framer. So in this 3-part video series, I'm going to teach you how to build and publish your first site in Framer with zero code. In this lesson, we'll look at the fundamentals and create the building blocks of our first page. Let's go. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand Framer, or just building websites in general, a website is just a box within a box, within a box, within a box, and so on. Now, inside of Framer, we refer to boxes as frames, and this is the number one building principle of actually creating something in Framer. So let's take this example of the Figma homepage, for example. We have some text here, we have the navigation bar, we have a call to action button, and we have some graphics here as well. But when we actually break this down, all it is just a bunch of boxes or frames. So the nav bar is a box. The section kind of containing this whole hero section here is also just a box. The text and the button is grouped together inside its own box. The button is actually just a box. And even these graphics here is just inside its own box or a frame. So let's take another example of the Framer homepage. When we actually break this down, you can start to see everything is just made of boxes. And then when we actually remove those assets, you can sort of start to see the skeleton of how that website is built. So lesson number 1 is the web is just made of boxes, aka frames. Okay, so here we are now inside of Framer on a blank project. Now you'll start to see that this feels pretty familiar to other design tools out there. We've got our layers panel on the left hand side where we can also navigate between our pages and assets. So things like templates, components, styles, vectors, and even code components. At the top of our page here, we have some navigation. We have an insert menu with a bunch of pre-built sections and components that we can drag and drop onto our page. We can add layout here, which the number one thing you're going to want to learn in terms of a shortcut is F to add a new frame. You can add text, you can create a vector icon, or we can even access the CMS. Now on the right hand side here, we have the ability to view our settings. We have the ability to view our page analytics. But in this instance, probably the thing you'll use most is this preview icon. And when I press on the preview here, we'll actually get a live preview of our website. And we'll be able to actually check for responsiveness here as well. And then the last thing you'll need, which we won't press yet, but is the publish button. Now, by default, when we create a new page, we're going to have a desktop breakpoint. Now, we can consider breakpoints as essentially the responsiveness of our website. So for example, we might have a desktop breakpoint, a tablet breakpoint, and a mobile breakpoint, meaning we can design the experience of our website to be consistent across all 3 of those breakpoints. Now, you will notice when I select a frame or any element on the canvas, on the right-hand side, we get this properties panel that appears. Now, this is where we can tweak everything from sizing, positioning, even styling. But for now, let's actually go ahead and press F on our keyboard, and we're going to draw a new frame inside our desktop breakpoint here. Now, the first thing you'll want to master with Framer is around sizing. Now, we have 4 types of sizing. We have fixed, relative, fill, and fit content. Now, let's actually start with fixed here. Similar to like any other design tool, when you actually set a fixed width or height, it means no matter what, that size is always going to remain the same. So for example here, let's say we set the width to be 600 pixels and the height to be 400 pixels. Now, if I preview this, you'll notice that it doesn't matter how big or how small I actually make my page, this container here, this frame is always going to stay at 600 by 400 pixels. But what we actually want to do here is actually make this the container for our hero section. So I'm actually just going to rename this to be called hero section. And we're actually going to set the width here to be relative. Now, when we set a width to be relative, we're actually working with percentages. Now, why is this actually important? Well, it actually has to do with responsiveness. Because there is so many different sizes of screens out there, from a laptop to a monitor to even a phone, we actually want to design our website as if it's going to be flexible and responsive. So this is why it's really important to use relative sizing over, say, fixed sizing. Because let's say if we set the width of this to be 50%, and if I preview this, you'll now notice when I make my page bigger or smaller, we're actually always taking up 50% width of the frame that it's in, which in this case is our breakpoint. And you can start to see how this sort of concept will actually help us build responsive websites. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to set the width of this to be 100%. So it takes up 100% width of the breakpoint. Now in this case, the page I want to design for, I actually want to take up 100% of the screen size. So to do this, we're actually going to use a height of viewport, and we're going to set that to be 100 VH, which essentially means it's going to take up 100% of the viewport height. Now we'll come back to this later, but for now, inside our desktop breakpoint, we're actually going to set the height to be auto, or otherwise fit content, which essentially fits all the content that's available and nothing more. Okay, great. So now we've actually set up our hero section here, and we can begin actually adding some more elements. So let's actually start by adding a background color. So I'm going to go down to fill here, and we're actually going to create a yellow color. Now, if I want to reuse this color, we can actually set up a global style, and I can click on new style here, and we might call this yellow, meaning that if I ever go in and edit this style, it'll update everywhere. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and add some text on our page. So I might say, create business that creates more impact. And just like the design tools we know and love, I'm going to tweak some of the styling here. Okay, great. And let's also just resize this for now. And I'm just going to give it a fixed width of about 450 pixels. And let's reduce the line height here as well. Now, I'm really not going to worry about layouts yet. We'll apply this later on. What's important is actually I add all the elements to my canvas. So we'll go ahead here and we'll add some more text as well. And I also want to add a call to action button on this page here. So actually just a button in Framer is literally just a frame with some text in it. So if I press F on my keyboard, draw a new frame, let's actually set the background color to be black. And then say if I take my text here and we'll paste that in here, what I'll do is I'll actually turn a layout on, and we'll set the color to be white, and we'll say this to be called Let's Chat. Now we'll cover buttons and components in the next part of this series, but for now on this text layer, I'm actually going to set the width to be auto, which is going to fit the size that it needs to be. And then inside the stack or the frame that it's in, we'll rename this to be button. And I'm going to set the width and height to be fit content as well. So essentially it will fit the size of the text here. And then what we can actually do is add some padding, which essentially is the invisible inside border of that frame. So you'll notice if I add padding of 20 pixels, we essentially have this invisible border of 20 pixels between the text. Now, the reason we've set it up like this and the reason why we have the width and height set to fit content is, let's say I actually want to change the text in my button here. So let's say we wanted to change it to be get started. You'll notice that the size of that button is actually responding to the content itself. So again, I think one of the real tricks with learning and mastering Framer is getting yourself out of the mindset of using a fixed width, just like you would on Figma, and actually using a relative fit content or fill width or height. Okay, this is starting to take shape. The last thing I want to kind of add here before we kind of apply some layout rules is a bit of an image on the right hand side. So I'm actually just going to press F and draw a new frame on the canvas here. And if we click onto fill here, we can actually fill that frame with an image. Now let's just really just grab one from Unsplash here. Okay, great, looks good. So we basically have a simple section of our website, but you'll notice that when I actually preview this, we have a lot of different issues going on. So one of the really critical things we need to learn with Framer is using a layout to actually get the responsiveness that we want. So once we've kind of added all the elements to our canvas, we can actually start applying some rules for how this stuff needs to operate. So if we kind of go back to our example of everything is just a box within a box within a box, we can start to see how this might actually be put together. So firstly, we actually have a box or a frame containing this whole hero section here. We might actually have a frame which contains both these elements here on the left-hand side. We might even have a frame that contains just this text and the button itself. And we already have a frame set up for our button, which is basically just a frame with some text in it. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually look at the left-hand side content here. I'm going to take the text here. I'm going to take the text down here as well as the button. I'm going to shift click all of them and I'm going to right click and I'm going to go add frame, which essentially just groups all of these inside its own frame. Now we'll call this say left. So we know it's the content on the left-hand side and we're going to turn layout on. Now, when we turn layout on, automatically everything's going to have a layout type of stack, which is by far the most common type of layout you need. The other one is grid, which we won't cover in this video. Now, inside our stack layout, we can set the direction of our elements. So whether we want it to be horizontal or vertical, we can set the distribute, so where it actually begins, and which side we want to align it to as well. If we have overflowing content, we can just set it to be wrap and everything will kind of automatically size. And we can also set a gap as well, which is essentially the space between our elements. So say for example here, if I increase this gap to say 35, then the space between all three of these elements here within our frame will be 35 pixels. And just like before, we can also set the outer padding here as well. Now, what I want to do is actually have the text here to be right at the top, and then the text, the paragraph text and the button to be right at the bottom. So to do this, what I can actually do is set the distribute to be space between, which essentially pushes everything as far as it can possibly go. But you'll notice we have an issue where the text here and the button are actually still using that rule and it's pushing everything as far away from each other. But I actually want them to be grouped together. So the way we get around this is actually by wrapping it inside its own frame. So I'll select both these frames here and I'll right click and go add frame. Now, what I'll do is set the width to be auto and the height to be auto as well. Now, automatically, when I set a width and height to be auto, a layout of stack will be applied. And then I can just set my settings here. So we'll actually align this to the left. So let's set the gap to be 25 pixels. So now if we actually look at our layers panel on the left-hand side here, we have this frame called left, which now holds our text at the top, but also this additional stack here. And when we apply a layout like space between here, it's only affecting the children of that frame. So in this case, the text by itself and this stack here. Now let's go back to the hero section for just a second and let's apply layout as a stack here as well. Now what I'm going to do is actually make it so it aligns to the very top, and we're going to set the distribute to be to the start here as well. Now I kind of want to do the same thing where we add everything as space between. So what I might actually do is set the distribute to be space between. Now I kind of want to push this button in this section down as far as I can here. And when I actually look at this a little bit further, this frame called left here still has a fixed width and height. Now again, it's best principles to not use fixed widths where possible. So what we're actually going to do is set the height to be fill, which is going to essentially take up the most amount of space it has available. So say if I set the width of this to also be fill, you notice that the size of this frame is basically automatically calculated by the remaining space it has available. Meaning that if I take this image here on the right hand side that has a fixed width, and if I make this say smaller or bigger, this left hand side, this frame here is actually responding based on the remaining size that it has available. So in this case, it's actually a really good way to actually use a fixed width because everything else on the left hand side is being responsive to that fixed sizing. So let's say we set the width of this one to be 180 pixels, but we also might want to set the height here to be fill. And then inside my hero section here, we can also set the gap as well. So if I want to increase it, I can do that here. But I think in this case, we'll just bring it down to about 30 pixels. Now inside my hero section here, I might actually want to have a little bit of inner padding. So we might actually set the padding here to be 15 pixels. And we could even go a step further by taking this left-hand frame here, and we could actually add some additional padding on the inside. And then if we go down and add, say, a border, we might actually start to create a really nice effect. Let's drop the opacity of this to be, say, 50 pixels. And then let's reduce the space here as well to be 15 pixels so everything is aligned. So now when I actually preview this, you'll notice that it doesn't matter if I make it bigger or a little bit smaller. On our sort of desktop breakpoint, we actually have quite a responsive website. Now, we are going to run into issues when we get down to a tablet size or even a mobile size, and we'll cover that a little bit later on. So let's quickly recap here. The number one thing you need to understand is everything is a frame within a frame within a frame. We also need to understand how sizing works and understand that because we're designing for the web, actually using fixed widths and heights, even though it is acceptable at some points, majority of the time you won't actually need to use it, and you should be using relative sizing or another type of sizing instead. Now, in the next part of this series, we'll actually look at how we can use components to create reusable assets on our entire website. And then in part 3, we're going to make this page responsive and we're going to get it ready to publish it on the internet. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want more Framer content just like it, consider subscribing to the channel because I'm putting out new Framer videos every single week. And if you're interested in the absolute best Black Friday deals on Framer plugins, products, templates, and education, then head to insertframe.io/Black Friday. But until next time, I'll catch you later.